Welcome back to God's Lore Deep Dive. Today, we embark on an epic 15-minute journey, exploring the Ragnarök full saga, a narrative where fate is the ultimate supreme deity. If the Titanomachy of Greek mythology was a story about a war for power and the creation of order, Ragnarök is fundamentally different. This is a predetermined destruction, a destiny that even the supreme god of wisdom, Odin, could not avoid, but only postpone. 1. The prophecy. How destiny was written. The origin of this catastrophe was not a random event, but a direct reflection of Odin's insatiable thirst for knowledge. We need to delve deeper into the meaning of the sacrifice. Odin traded one eye for a drink from Mimir's well of knowledge. This was a philosophical trade-off: present power, sight, for future knowledge, wisdom. It was this very act that allowed him to know the full destiny of himself and the 9 realms through the poem Völuspá, the prophecy of the seeress. Odin knew he would die in the jaws of the wolf Fenrir, but with this knowledge, he could prepare and attempt to reshape how that death would occur. However, it was Odin's own pride and choices that ignited the event. Everything began with the worrying union between Loki, the trickster god, and the giantess Angerboda, the bringer of sorrow. They bore 3 monstrous children who were destined to destroy the world: Fenrir, the giant wolf; Jormungandr, the world serpent; and Hel, the queen of the underworld. Character psychological analysis. We need to understand that Loki is not just a trickster, he represents the necessary chaos in the cosmos. And his children were not inherently evil from the start. Fenrir, the giant wolf, was initially just a huge but harmless creature. But the gods, in their fear of the prophecy, committed a cruel act of betrayal. They deceived Fenrir to chain him with the magical fetter Gleipnir. Gleipnir was made from non-material things: the sound of a cat's footfall, the beard of a woman, the roots of a mountain, the spittle of a bird, the breath of a fish. The intangible became the binding magical power. It was this act of deception that transformed Fenrir into the ultimate destroyer, fueled by profound resentment. As for the other 2 children, Jormungandr was cast into the ocean to encircle Midgard. His power is the infinitude of the ocean, a threat that cannot be eliminated, only contained. And Hel, she rules a kingdom necessary for the universe, the realm of the dead. Her banishment was not because she was evil, but due to Odin's fear of her giantess lineage and uncontrollable power. It was the imprisonment itself that turned these beings into sworn enemies, and destiny continued to unfold. However, the true spark that ignited Ragnarök came from a pure yet tragic act: the death of Baldur. Baldur, the god of light and beauty, was known to be immortal because everything in the world, trees, stones, metals, had sworn not to harm him. Loki's discovery of the mistletoe was not just a cunning move, but the discovery of a philosophical loophole in the cosmic order that the gods had established. Baldur's death broke the balance and brought barrenness to the world. The consequence was Loki's capture and devastating punishment, being chained beneath a venomous serpent that drips poison. This pain spawned an unhealable hatred. His wife, Sigyn, patiently catches the venom, but whenever she leaves, the venom drips onto Loki's face, causing earthquakes. This imprisonment is the energetic push for the coming chaos. Loki's captivity is the final piece, driving the 9 realms into the unrecoverable event: Fimbulwinter. 2. Fimbulwinter and the unraveling of chaos. Fimbulwinter is not merely a 3-year-long winter without sunlight, it is a cosmic and philosophical event, signaling the collapse of order. This is the Axe Age and the Sword Age, described in the Norse sagas. The chaos does not only come from the outside but also from within human society, Midgard. Brothers slay one another, with no loyalty or honor remaining. Kinship ties and oaths are broken. This collapse of human morality and society is the cosmic sign that the authority of the gods is no longer in effect. The cold and chaos signal the emergence of old foes. The signs of physical destruction begin to appear. The wolves devour the sun and moon, beginning with the darkest event: the wolves Skoll and Hati, who have hunted the celestial bodies since time immemorial, finally catch up and swallow the sun and moon, plunging all 9 realms into eternal darkness. The resurrection of Jormungandr. Simultaneously, the oceans begin to rage. The world serpent, Jormungandr, thrashes the deep so violently that it creates gigantic tidal waves that engulf the land, and the pressure causes its chains to shatter. Its venom covers the air and land, polluting the entire world. Its rising is a symbol of nature's chaos no longer being contained. Naglfar and the army of the dead. From the furious seas, the most terrifying ship, Naglfar, emerges. We need to focus on the detail. This ship is made from the fingernails and toenails of the dead. This is not just a gruesome detail, but a profound philosophical metaphor. All dishonorable deaths, the wastefulness of humanity, contribute to the building of the doomsday ship. Naglfar is the collection of all inglorious deaths, commanded by the giant Hrym, leading the army of the dead from Hell's realm. This is a massive force of injustice and resentment. And then, the most terrifying moment. Fenrir, the giant wolf, finally breaks the magical fetter Gleipnir, the chain that bound him for an age. With every step, the earth and the worlds tremble. At the same time, Loki, having escaped his brutal confinement, leads the army of the frost giants, Jotnar, and the vengeful spirits, marching towards the battlefield. VGRR, the final battleground, is ready. The Aesir gods, led by Odin, gather the bravest fallen warriors, Einherjar, in Valhalla. They know that the purpose of the war is not victory. Odin, the god of wisdom, has learned that destiny cannot be changed, but how we face it can. Their goal is to embrace fate with the highest honor, fighting with honor, fighting not to survive, but to ensure that their deaths will be glorious enough to guarantee the rebirth of the world. 3. The Doomsday Battle and the Fated Sacrifices. The battle at VGRR is not just a war, it is the highest expression of Norse philosophy, the fated confrontation. This is where every god must face their destined enemy, with the ultimate purpose being sacrifice to complete the cosmic cycle. Before the gods engaged in battle, the army of the Einherjar, the gloriously dead warriors, from Valhalla charged into the forces of Hel and the Jotnar. Their fight was an act of attrition, buying time for Odin and the major gods. This was the first mass sacrifice, demonstrating the unity of all who believed in the order of Asgard. And then, the fated duels began. The core duel, Odin versus Fenrir, the collapse of wisdom. This is the most crucial battle, the confrontation between Odin, the god of wisdom, and the wolf Fenrir, his destined foe. Odin, riding his steed Sleipnir and wielding the spear Gungnir, charged into battle. This is the clash between supreme intellect, the god who always seeks knowledge, and primal power, the creature of hatred and resentment. Detailed analysis. Although Odin fights with desperate strength, Fenrir's primal power and bloodlust are unstoppable. Fenrir does not merely swallow Odin, he absorbs the god of wisdom. Odin's death is a necessary sacrifice for the cycle of rebirth to take place. However, this death is instantly avenged by Vidar, Odin's son. Vidar, wearing his special shoe, made from the leftover leather scraps that shoemakers cut off, clamped Fenrir's jaws and tore him apart. This is a critical deep lore detail. The discarded, worthless things of the old world are the key to saving the new one. The core duel, Thor versus Jormungandr, Thunder and Venom. This is the most terrifying showdown. Thor, the god of strength, confronts his sworn enemy, Jormungandr. Their battle is a horrifying collision, Mjolnir, the power of order, clashing against the venom, the chaotic power of nature. Every strike from Thor explodes the cosmos, but the world serpent is too immense, and its venom covers the battlefield. Tactical significance. Thor delivers a final blow, powerful enough to fell the serpent. But only moments later, Thor collapses from its venom. This is the sacrifice of strength for survival. Thor completes his role by destroying the greatest enemy, but he must pay with his life. Both destroy each other, fulfilling the prophecy and establishing balance. The deaths of honor and choice. Other gods also fulfill their destiny. Tyr versus Garm. Tyr, the god of honor, faces the hound of hell, Garm. Both slay each other in a balanced and honorable fight, honoring Tyr's old oath. Heimdall versus Loki. Heimdall, the guardian of the Bifrost Bridge, and Loki, the instigator of chaos, destroy one another, ending all opposition and hatred that had persisted through the ages. The tragedy of Freyr and the fire of destruction. Analysis of personal error. The most tragic battle is that of Freyr, the god of fertility. Freyr should have been a great warrior, but he lost his magical sword earlier due to love. This personal choice causes him to fail miserably against Surtur, the fire giant. Surtur is not evil, he is the force of cleansing. He wields the sword Levitine, the sword of destruction, and unleashes fire upon the 9 realms. He destroys the Bifrost Bridge and sets Yggdrasil, the world tree, ablaze. This is a necessary act to eliminate all remnants of the old chaos. The world is plunged into a sea of fire and boiling water. The conclusion of Ragnarök, the great Aesir gods have all sacrificed themselves. This is not a victory for the Olympus faction, as in Greek myth. This is a complete cleansing, necessary to end the old cycle and pave the way for rebirth. 4. Rebirth, philosophy, and the final comparison. After the destructive fire of Surtur and the great flood from the ocean, the world falls into an ominous silence. But the greatest philosophy of Norse mythology is this: Ragnarök is not an end, but the terminus of a cycle to begin a new one. This is a necessary cleansing. Without salvation, there is only recreation. 1. Rebirth and the new pantheon. After the fire and seawater recede, a new world emerges from the sea, green and free from the jealousies of the old generation. The surviving gods form a new pantheon, learning from the mistakes of their ancestors. The survival of the future. Vidar, Odin's son, survives. Mi and Magni, Thor's sons, also survive and become the most worthy inheritors when they find the hammer Mjolnir in the ashes. This succession symbolizes strength and order reborn. Philosophical reconciliation. Baldur and Hr, the brother who killed Baldur, return from the realm of the dead, symbolizing light and reconciliation for the new world. The old conflicts no longer exist. The continuation of humanity. Even 2 mortals, Lif and Lfraser, survive by hiding within the trunk of Yggdrasil and become the ancestors of the new human race. 2. Destiny versus will, core theological analysis. Ragnarök poses the greatest philosophical question: is the power of fate greater than the will of the gods? The failure and sacrifice of Odin prove that in Norse mythology, destiny, fate, is the supreme power. This is the core difference from Greek myth. Zeus wins by rewriting fate, overthrowing the Titans, defeating Typhoeus, showing a prioritization of individual will and violence. Conversely, Odin accepts and fights according to his pre-written destiny, sacrificing himself to ensure rebirth. This demonstrates a prioritization of the cycle and sacrifice. 3. Comparison of leadership power, the final showdown. This section is the soul of the God's Lore Deep Dive channel, where we compare the true power of Odin and Zeus. Ultimate goal: Zeus desires immortality and eternal rule, linearity. Odin knows this is impossible and prioritizes the continuation of the world, cyclicality. Means of power: Zeus uses violence and weapons of mass destruction, the lightning bolt. Odin uses wisdom and sacrifice, knowledge. If Zeus is the god of the explosion of individual power, Odin is the god of intellectual persistence and sacrifice for the greater good. Both are all-fathers, but their philosophies of war are completely opposite. 4. Legacy in popular culture, impact analysis. The story of Ragnarök is not just history, it is present, having dominated modern media. God of War, Ragnarök, analyze how this game interprets the resistance to fate. Kratos and Atreus seek to change the Voluspa, which is the very clash between Greek philosophy, changing fate, and Norse philosophy, accepting fate. MCU, Thor, Ragnarök. Although the film interprets it differently, it still emphasizes that Asgard is not a place, but its people. This is a lesson drawn from the myth itself. Material things can be destroyed, but the spirit of order will survive. And that is the entire epic tale of Ragnarök, not just a war, but a cosmic cleansing leading to rebirth. This war reminds us that even the greatest gods cannot escape destiny. Don't forget to subscribe to the God's Lore Deep Dive channel so you don't miss our next video, East vs. West, the ultimate battle of God Kings, where we will compare the power of Zeus and Odin with Eastern deities. See you in the next great war.